Howdy, worldwide webbers. I want to show you all a little something to watch out for when you're chasing issues, especially if you're chasing a code-only issue without a symptom. But this is an interesting one that I had a case on recently. L5P Duramax, which is 17 and newer, which is a Denso system. So this one, they put in a GM crate engine, still had a crank no start. I don't think the old one even cranked. I think it was that blown up. So they didn't have a whole lot to go off of beforehand. And they had a P0090. And they kind of went through a plethora of testing. I believe the engine already came with a brand new Denso pump on it, injectors, the whole nine. So a lot of new parts on it already. They went through, they tested some wiring, they owned this, that, and everything. Uh, and one thing that I kind of noticed looking through, you pull up this code, and it doesn't matter where you look, you're going to get the same information. I don't want to say the same, but you're going to see very similar information. Identifix has this. This is directly copy and pasted from GM's site, what they have. So it's there. There's your low control equals open or greater than 0.275 seconds. That's your code setting criteria for the description of, this is what got me, fuel pressure regulator 1 control circuit. So when you see a description that says control circuit in it, I'm already thinking wiring in the back of my head. It doesn't say low voltage or high voltage like we have a open or short, but you don't jump to, this is your code setting criteria. Um, that's a performance code. That is a straight up performance code. This is the same thing you'll find on Mitchell. This is the same thing you'll find on Aldat. So, and probably some other systems. So I didn't come here to bash systems. I kind of came here for, GM is really good about giving you code setting criteria. So that is huge to have, because without that, this shop, they chased their tail on, they they owned the harness, they owned all kinds of stuff. They even went in and they ran overlay wires to the, I don't know what Denso calls it. Bosch calls it the quantity control valve. Um, GM, I believe, calls this the fuel regulator 1. They replaced that again. They ran overlay wires to it. They replaced the ECM. That did not correct it. I went through and said, what is your low pressure fuel? Because their high pressure fuel only was 40 psi, which obviously is nowhere near 5,000 it needs to pop and run. So on these, your low pressure fuel system is kind of a different animal. This is your low pressure pump. So that's a 3-phase DC pump. So obviously the days of power probing that are long gone. Looks a lot like a ABS unit almost, but it does have a sensor on it. So they were only seeing, I think they said 60 on it, but it was kind of erratic just watching it on scan data. Threw a gauge on it, found that it was just a bad low pressure pump. Replaced this low pressure pump that's in tank, life was good. So can save you a lot of time and headache just kind of stepping back and reading service information. That's critical. Here's a schematic of that 3-phase pump. So without a scan tool and without a scope, you can't 100% diagnose these things. You can ohm your harness, make sure you don't have any opens. You can command that thing on. You may see some sort of voltage change on a meter looking at it, but without a decent scope, um, and honestly, these, you got to get a scope. You can get a U scope for a couple $100 and do 95%, if not more, of what you need day to day. So, highly recommend that. Highly recommend just slowing down, reading through service information. Anytime there's code setting criteria, read it. Bulletins, search for bulletins. There wasn't any on this one, but sometimes, you know, I see it all the time. Techs chase their tail, and there was a bulletin on what they were looking for, and you could just save you time. So that's all I got for you all today. Have a blessed one.